actually promised, which was, what, 20% across the board. I actually don't know that we would have seen the reaction. It's the complete randomness of this tariff plan that I think has caused people to be like, what are they doing over there?
Well, you know, so we always, at least for me, a lot of the times when I'm going around and I hear from people, you know, they know that I'm coming to CNN, they'll say, you know, we'll have different conversations. So I've been away for a couple of weeks. As you see, I have a different haircut. It was the barbershop.
Okay.
I was at the barbershop on yesterday, and it's not like the people in the barbershop were just wholeheartedly supportive of Donald Trump, but the one thing that they said, that man knows business. That wasn't the conversation yesterday. So I walked in, it was like they were ready for me to come in. And they literally said, man, what is going on with your mans? And trying to explain to them what happened in this week. I started the week, I was like, I know I'm going to CNN, I'm going to have a lot of good stuff to say, but it is what I can only describe as a very chaotic week. Because you're right, a lot of the things that you pointed out, Donald Trump, they were full-throated in this. And this is the thing. It was the certainty that this is going to work. And as the market got that little bump, and they said, see, this is what deal making is. This is art of the deal. And then we see a different story. And it is the messaging where you have Donald Trump saying one thing. You may have Karoline Leavitt saying another thing. You may have Lutnick saying another thing. You may have Bessent saying another thing. And Bessent, in his press conference, said that this was all part of the plan. We were going to do this all along. Now, this is before the market tanked the next day. We were going to do this all along because we wanted to see who our partners were. And he specifically said is that if you didn't retaliate, you would be rewarded. What? That's just not how this sort of thing works. And it lets you know that there was no strategy. It was a lot of shoot from the hip. And I say this as someone, I always have to remind people that I voted for the man 3 times. This is not what I expected.
You're a glutton for punishment.
This is not what
I miss. Glutton for punishment.
Does that come as a surprise?
Yes, it comes as a surprise. I miss talking about Hunter Biden's laptop right now. I miss you're using the wrong bathroom. I miss eggs. We're talking about global economic warfare. I mean, you know, in my family, should we buy a house now? We got to hold off on all this stuff. We don't know what is going on. And, you know, that can work to your advantage. My daughter says, can I have ice cream? It's like, look, there's too much uncertainty right now, sweetheart. But this is not the conversation that we should be having, that the economy sucks. So it's a mess.
Well, it's a little bit. I actually think Larry Fink at BlackRock, the CEO of BlackRock, said it best. America used to be the great global stabilizer. Now we're the great global destabilizer. And that's so distressing. And it's such a home goal. It's so unnecessary. And the changes we're seeing are not for the better for anybody. And all the CEOs I talk to, and I've talked to a lot over the last couple of weeks, are really anxious about what this is doing to America's reputation and to the actuality of doing business.
Do you remember when Donald Trump used to talk about the stock market and say things like this?
The stock market is soaring to record levels. Their values are going up every single day. We have made America wealthy again. Look at our stock market. Look at that market. Look at your 401ks. If he gets in, you have the greatest depression in the history of this country. Your stocks will go to hell.
Maybe this is why some people on Wall Street are starting to question whether Trump isn't just erratic, but actually maybe isn't all there. I mean, that's been some of the reporting this week, is that they're actually concerned that this is so irrational. It cannot be explained by a person in their right mind, because Donald Trump understands how important the stock market is. And he used to care.
He used to care. And last week, if he really wanted to handle this the right way, I mean, everyone would agree that maybe America has been taken advantage of with some of these tariffs. So go to some of these nations and say, okay, we're going to start at 20%, but have a private negotiation with them. And then say, okay, can we get it down to 10% and go back and forth? They know exactly what entity in each of these countries they want to try and get rid of or reduce. That's the art of the deal, by the way. That is not how this. That is not how this happened.
This is his big thing.
He's been talking about it for forever.
And he finally got to do it, and then he didn't know how to do it.
You know what the biggest disappointment is? To your point, that people are now worried about what's going on inside of his head. Where are the Republicans? Where are the Republicans to stand up to this other than a couple?
Maybe a week or two, and they will break down.
But the Republicans
because it's going to start to hurt at
The
home.
Republicans have been nowhere all along. This is consistent behaviour for them. But what's concerning is that America, you know, the American economy is one of the great glories of the world. It's one of the 7 wonders of the world. Sure. And that's not going to be true anymore. And he's supposed to be leaning into this sense of being a radical president, that at the end he's supposed to leave the economy in incredible shape, and he doesn't care what it takes to get there. But this is already going way off the rails.
What I say, Michael, about how this is his thing, that is so true. And this is the irrational part, right? Trump has been talking about this since the 80s. Mm-hmm. And he seems to have ignored everything that happened between, 1987 and today, which is that the United States continues, even with trade being imperfect, to dominate the rest of the world by every measure. He doesn't factor that in when he says that we're losing, that we're being taken advantage of, that everything sucks for us, even though we are winning.
This reminds me of Doge, where people are supportive of the concept of Doge eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse. Right. The problem that people have is how you went about it. People are supportive of reciprocal taxes and tariffs and a lot of these things. The problem for Donald Trump is how he went about it. And so when you have your list and you go out there and say, we're going to slap tariffs on these people, on these different countries, and then after the fact, when you're asked, can you give us a list of those 75 countries, please? They say, oh, no, we're not going to give you that information. It is how Donald Trump went about this. And so what he should have done at the beginning, and you have a lot of people smarter than me, like literally, I sourced all conservative outlets trying to figure out what argument I would make. It simply did not work. If Donald Trump had done this 90-day pause at the beginning, or just said, we're going to make this about China. We're going to give a 90-day, review period for a lot of these other countries. That would have been much better than making a big deal about the tariffs, Liberation Day, and then within hours of them going into effect, you say, oh, whoa, we have a 90-day pause.
We're throwing tariffs around like Trump. Trump oftentimes means trade deficit when he's talking about tariffs. That bulletin board was just an example of trade deficits. It reminds me of my father, rest in peace. He said he loved jazz. He loved jazz. Then we would go to a jazz club and he'd go, I don't like this. He'd go, Dad, it's blues you like. It's Trump
totally different thing.
Totally different thing.
But
he thinks tariffs, right, to him, it's all music.
Yeah.
To him,
a totally different thing.
It's trade deficits that are pissing him off. Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
that one's for you, Dad.
All right, troops and Insomniac cable news hosts, welcome to the greatest show on earth, starring Donald J. Trump as the man who thinks the biggest problem in America is time itself. Yes, in between declaring economic war in China and suggesting tariffs that could bankrupt Amazon and your neighborhood lemonade stand, Trump has decided to pause reality 1 hour at a time. His latest brilliant idea, make daylight saving time permanent. Because when you're drowning in trade wars, I suppose, collapsing markets and screaming staffers, the best solution is obviously more sunshine. According to Trump, switching clocks twice a year is very confusing and very costly. Dreadful impression. Unlike, say, slapping a 125% tariff on Chinese imports, which he swears is part of a genius, tremendous plan to win a trade war he started in the middle of a nap. And now he's threatening to raise it, is it 145% or whatever?
He made $2.5 billion today, and he made $900 million.
Bold move, but kind of like burning your house down to win an argument with the thermostat. Who knows what price these wars are going to get to? 2,000! You'll have 4,000! And Fox News, by the way, they're loving it. Surprised? Laura Ingraham just called Trump's daylight saving plan a revolutionary moment in time freedom. Seriously. Can somebody just put them on pause? It would be really good if you just pause Fox for a while. Over on Truth Social, MAGA World is busy convincing itself that clock changes are a Chinese conspiracy to steal American circadian rhythms. As they do. And now Enter Stage Left Elon Musk, because no timeline would be complete without the man from Mars bound meme Lord chiming in. Musk tweeted that permanent daylight saving will optimize solar battery alignment and help future Martian colonies adapt to Earth legacy time zones. Translation is no clue what's happening. But he's still got Wi-Fi and far too many bots, followers, and people literally giving him money with a blue tick. Or for a blue tick. Anyway, back in the real world, which let's be honest, Trump left around 2017, his cabinet is spinning like a room full of drunk economists. Peter Navarro is out there waving his hands, claiming that skipping time will change, confuse the Chinese economic algorithms, giving the US an upper hand in negotiations. That's right, we're now fighting trade wars with clocks and hoping Beijing forgets what time it is. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told reporters that this move increases productivity, saves lives, and will lead to better deals. Sure, Scott. Next stop, we'll cure inflation by deleting Mondays, fixing immigration by banning Tuesdays. Stop. Let's not pretend this is about time or trade. No, this is the ultimate distraction maneuver, because while shelves get emptier, inflation creeps higher, and the stock market clutches its pearls, Trump's out here screaming, "Look, sunrise!" And the Democrats, well, they're just sitting back, I think, eating popcorn, watching this flaming wreck of policy distraction. That's what it is. Maybe they know voters hate two things: high prices and losing sleep. And now Trump's giving them both at the same time. So while he plays whack-a-mole with tariffs and clocks, I suppose the Dems are lining up ad campaigns that they should title "Remember Sanity." In the end, Trump's permanent daylight saving move won't save trade, won't fix inflation, won't build a border or whatever it is he wants to do there, and won't bring back cheap iPhones. But it might just help your cousin Chad or whoever get an extra hour at CrossFit. So, as America springs forward into the abyss, remember, in Trump's America, time waits for no one, tariffs hit everyone, and sleep is just, fake news.
Feels like lifetimes have passed since the signal messaging controversy broke roughly 3 weeks ago. Yet the Trump administration officials involved in discussing military operations on an unsecured app seem to have faced little to no accountability. You have personally called on Secretary Pete Hegseth to resign. Is the White House going to be able to run out the clock on this story?
We can't let the story go away because it's either we stand up for our service members and protect them, or we don't. And this kind of insanity that they would put classified information in an open group chat, and then we find out that they're doing it on other channels as well, like Gmail. It says you don't care about the troops because they're the ones who will pay the price if this information is exposed. And so the veterans community is outraged. I've talked to service members, family members who are outraged. And so we can't just let this go away. And frankly, we should look at what we can do to hold the secretary accountable within the Congress. And every single congressional hearing, if a national security official testifies, every single one of my colleagues should be asking them, are you communicating on any open source communication channel to make plans, organize, or to discuss national security information? That way you can lock them in, you can hopefully find out the truth, and then when we're in the majority, bring accountability.
I'm out of time, but I want to ask you this. With all of what we've seen about this administration's threatening and then withdrawing threats on tariffs, seeing the bond market, seeing the stocks, all of that up and down. What can the Congress do? What do you?
The White House have been doing, of course, another day, another round of really great reporting. And in this news story, you talk about speaking to senior White House advisors about how Trump is feeling right now. One in particular said the following, said, quote, "He just loves this shit." That's a quote. Talking deals with the most powerful people in the world when he's got all the cards and leverage is like air for him. I mean, air for him, but certainly I'm not sure if air is, or maybe it's more the gasping for oxygen that a lot of consumers are feeling and Americans are feeling right now.
Without a doubt, and that is one of the challenges and one of the things that if you talk to economists, you talk to Republicans who really want this administration to succeed, they wonder at the end of this week, what is the president thinking? What is he doing? What is his self-inflicted wounds actually leading to? But that story, as you mentioned, really indicates the team of economic rivals that are guiding the president on this. We've seen it play out in real time all week long. I think when we look back at this week, we will see that the bookend of the people you see on your screen there, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, he clearly was warning the president to find an off-ramp on this. Peter Navarro clearly was wanting the president to hold firm. But we're not at the end of the trade negotiations or tariff negotiations. We're at the beginning of a brand new chapter. That 90-day pause means until July 8th. So circle that date on your calendar. All the advice from these advisors and others, who the president listens to between now and then, will certainly play a key role going forward in how this all works out, Dana.
Yeah, absolutely. Some terrific reporting. I encourage people to check it out on CNN.com. Thanks for bringing some of it to us, Jeff, on this very rainy Friday here in Washington. Inside here at the table are some terrific reporters, CNN's Priscilla Alvarez, Eli Stokols of Politico, and CNN's Eva McKend. We made it to Friday. I'm not sure that that is a day with a distinction anymore, but let's just go with it right now. You cover the White House every day. You've been covering Donald Trump for a long time, in particular on issues of foreign policy, and that's what tariffs are. Even though it's economic policy, it is also very much foreign policy. What are you hearing from your sources about where things stand right now and whether he's going to stick with the current tariffs as he has them?
Well, no one knows that, right? Because we've seen so many fluctuations, and I think the uncertainty and the awareness now that the rest of the world has that the global economy sort of hinges on the minute-to-minute fluctuations of what Donald Trump wants to do. That is creating the uncertainty that has a lot of these markets dipping. Certainly the quote that you read, I think, is a great summation of why we're in this place that we are. This is a president who likes deals. And as economists have been scratching their heads trying to find the rationale for doing this, it's not an economic rationale, it's a power rationale. It's the same cycle of threaten, leverage, extract a concession that we see him employing against Greenland and Denmark, against Canada, against universities and law firms. And now he's trying to do it with every other country in the world. We already saw him walk back from most of that, and the sort of influence of the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who I think is our reporting and reporting from other outlets has shown this week. He is now sort of, as one person put it, in the driver's seat. But can he really impress upon Trump that the situation with China, escalating with China, is also freaking a lot of people out. That's why we're seeing the bond market continue to be squishy. That's why the dollar is getting weaker and euro is getting stronger. Can he have more success? We don't know. But the situation with China is a real concern. And he's kind of, whether he has the cards he thinks he has, right? He loves having these cards. I'm not sure with China that he has the cards he thinks he has.
And we have some great new reporting coming on China, but I just want to underscore one thing you said, because I think it's important for our viewers to really digest it, that for Donald Trump, this tariff war isn't so much about economic policy, it's about power. And that is, I just want that to sink in, because you are so right. Obviously, you're getting that from your sources, from your observations, and we all are too.
The Main Street message is one thing, but the message is different than going to the grocery store and paying $10 for an avocado.
Yeah.